Hi, I'm Shaan and welcome back to my channel. So the first few videos we've learned how to set the character up, how to use stuff, how to run around, how to shoot things, how to fly a spaceship. And before we go any further, because we're about to get a ship, I thought I'd take you through all the menus because there are a lot of menus and a lot of things you can do. Now to do that, I'm going to use my high level toon or Avi if you like, and this will show you not only what you're aiming for, you can get really big beautiful ships, but also I'm using this character because there's stuff in all the menus, and if I just use the starting toon, most of the menus will be empty. So we'll get away from ship jealousy, and what I'm going to do, we're going to start at the top right hand side. This little box here is where most of the stuff is happening and where you're going to be clicking to do pretty much everything. So I'll start from the top right. The middle part here though tells you what sector you're in, and it also tells you what instance you're in. Now an instance basically is just one theatre of play. So for instance, if instance number 1 gets overcrowded or has too many players or is too laggy, you'll get put into instance number 2, etc. You can actually change your instance if you want to make sure you're on the same server as a mate. But for now, we're just going to concentrate on you playing on your own. So at the top right, if you hold your cursor over it, it says Display Big Map. This screen here is a mini map, and as I've said, if you use your mouse button or wheel, you can scroll in and out. But there's not a lot of detail there. Click on the big map, and guess what? That's right, it's a big map. So what we have here at the bottom, center on player, and there's your change instance. If you click on that, you'll get some a menu of options that says you can go from 1 to 3 to 4 or whatever instances is available at the moment. If you hold your left button down, you can scroll around the map. Wheel button again zooms you in and out. There are keyboard shortcuts for these things, but I'm a mouse user, so you can work that out for yourselves. Now, the first map is an area map. It's a really big overview of what quadrant you're in at the moment, with all of the systems, star bases, etc., etc. The next item is a galaxy map. Now the galaxy map is a huge overview of all the quadrants. So here you have Alpha, which is where you will find Bajor and Deep Space Nine. Here you will have Beta Quadrant, which is where you will find Earth and Vulcan, Romulus. At the top left here, you have the Gamma Quadrant. And the line down the middle is Delta. On this map, until you manage to be able to transwarp places, new word, transwarp, you may need to hop around by finding access points to each quadrant. To be honest, you probably won't, because you won't be at that level to go there, but there are ways to hop around. There are also cheat ways to hop around that we will talk about at a later date. So that's just your big map. Unlikely to use it very much. Your system list is the systems. I'll just clear that. These are the systems in the quadrant where you are. So this, for instance, we are in beta. So these are all the planets in beta. So you can scroll down, you can look at all the planets. This shows you how big Star Trek Online actually is. If you want to go to a planet, you can simply click on it or double click on it, and it will set a course and engage autopilot. So for instance, if I want to go to Andoria, I'll double click here, and underneath here you'll see my ship is on its merry way on its own. If we look on the area map, we can see where we're heading. If you want to search for a particular system, for instance, if you're on a mission, and on this right hand side, we'll get here in a minute, say you needed to go to Vulcan. To save scrolling down to the V's, you can actually start to type the first few letters and up it comes. If you're looking for a system, you start to type the letters and it's not there, you're in the wrong quadrant, so you need to change. It's not that it's not there and you're going, why is it not there? You're in the wrong place. So, want to go to Vulcan, double click. My ship will change course. In this case, you're not seeing it move or change course much because it's actually in the same line as the Andoria was, so we're just heading straight towards it. So that's your maps. You will use that quite a bit when you're doing missions in order to find out where your mission is or to get there. The area map will also have indications of where your missions are if you have one. There'll be a circle around it. I don't actually have any missions in this area at the moment, but remember our yellow circle tells us where we need to go. That'll be an indication that on this right hand side in your list of missions, one of them will be in that system. The next screen we're going to bring up is your character screen. Now, there's a lot of stuff in here. You'll use this screen a lot. The first thing it does is to bring up your character screen, but also your inventory. I'm going to close the inventory down for now because you can open that separately and it's going to be confusing. So on your main character screen, on the left here, the top one is your character. The next one is your ship. And down the next list is all of your crew members. When you start off, you won't have any crew members, then you get 1, 2, etc. And eventually you'll have a full complement. Along the top are various other options that I'll look at in a second. But underneath you have a name. It tells you what sort of officer you are, your rank, which is level 65. That's the highest you can go. You're starting off at number 1. You're probably at level 3 by the time you get to this tutorial. But level 65 is as far as you can go at the moment. No doubt that will change. Now, when you first start off, everyone is rushing to get to level 65. They're ignoring side missions. They're just flying through everything. They want to get that number. Don't do that. This is a life. It's a game, but it's also you're in a movie, you're in world. Enjoy it. Enjoy every moment, because if you rush to level 65 and you get there, you won't be prepared. And you'll be one of the people typing in chat, I need help, I can't defeat these 3 enemies. because you're not equipped for it. Each level gives you more equipment, better understanding of the game mechanics. So take your time, sit back, smell the flowers, look around. So here you've got your progress. As you start off, where it says earn for next grade or level, it says NA for me, not applicable because I can't go any higher. But you'll have numbers, and for instance, you may have 100/200. That means you've got 100 out of 200 for your next level. It's not that interesting for me, but if you like to keep an idea of your progress in a digital way, this is all here. So you've got other information that you can look through. You've got your stats. Your stats will change depending on what sort of weapons you carry, what sort of armor you're wearing, what skills you have. So it's interesting to see these go up and down as you get better at playing. Passive skills, I've got a whole list here. You'll start off with a few. Passive skills are things that happen automatically. You don't need to do anything. You don't press a button. They're just skills you have learnt along the way and things that aid your gameplay, the way you fly your ship, the way you influence your crew, stuff like that. Again, we've got ground skills, space skills. Biography, you can actually type in a biography or a backstory if you like by clicking on edit record. You can type stuff, some people do, and it's quite interesting for others to read if they're into more of a role play situation. On the right here is everything you're wearing when you first start off. You probably won't have anything along the top. Kit modules, we'll explain those as we go along, what kit you're wearing. If you hold your cursor over any item, it'll tell you what it is. For instance, here I have level 15 shields. You'll start off with level 1. You'll notice here in orange it says Epic, which is the best equipment you can buy. Again, you're going to start off with a level 1 shield, and your equipment will be color coded from white through to the nice gold color here. And the different colors relate to the level or capability of that weapon. For instance, down here, I have a purple level. The reason for this at the moment is because one of my missions was to use a particular weapon, and that was the best one of its class that I had to use. Down here you have devices. Devices can be all sorts of things. For instance, if you're hunting the Borg, you're going to need a frequency remodulator. You may have a little pet that you can take with you. Some of them are combat pets. This one is particularly good. He will wander off and basically eat people and help you in your endeavors, and other such items we will look at later. So back along the top, skills. Now, on your character, you have what's called skill trees. So you can build up your skills and your abilities. We'll start off with space. Each one you click on, space, ground, specialization, has different trees. So for instance, here we have engineering, science, and tactical. Now, although you have a chosen career, for instance, of tactical, it doesn't mean you only want to fill in the tactical side, because you're going to need to get skills to help your ship out, to get better shields, better weapons. So if you just only go for tactical, you're going to end up very poor in the shield department and how you can fly your ship. So you're going to want to spread these out. Each one is for a different level of ability, lieutenant commander, etc. You will earn skill points as you go along, and you get to spend them 1 or 2 at a time. Down the bottom of this box, it tells me how many space points and ground points I have. I don't have any to spend because there is a limit to how many you get, and I've spent them. So don't spend them all on everything as you go. Think about what you need, maybe even hold on to some skill points along the way, so you can actually fill in some categories all the way down. Once you spend a skill point, you cannot unspend that skill point. So think carefully. Hold your mouse over something that tells you exactly what that skill will do. For instance, this skill here adds 50 to my shield capacity. And you get a little bonuses to maximum shields as well. So think about it as you go along. Later in the game, when you understand the mechanics more, you will probably have got down to Captain or Admiral, and you'll think, I wish I'd added these skills. You'll get, or you can earn retrain tokens. When you spend a retrain token, all of this goes back to blank, and you will have all of your points down the bottom. The reason to wait a while is because you want to gain an understanding of the game, and also you want to have enough points to make serious changes. So when you retrain, you don't have to spend them 1 or 2 at a time. You can spend all your available points, so you can actually work out what skills you want to improve upon as you go. Each person will have different idea of what they want to spend. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. Don't let anyone tell you how to play your game. But just think about what you're going to need. If you're dying all the time, you're probably going to need some more shielding. If you're failing to kill your enemies, you're going to want more firepower. Things like that. So you have space skills, ground skills. Now, specialization is something you don't get in the beginning, but you will work towards. When you get to a certain level, you'll be able to choose to spend specialization skill points in exactly the same way as space and ground, but you do have more options. Now, depending on your gameplay, you may choose to spend points on different specializations. Eventually, when you played long enough, you'll have spent all your points and filled in all of the trees. Now, your specialization can be changed at any time. So, for instance, for a certain mission, you may want to be a temporal operative or a miracle worker or a commando, and each one gives you different skills and bonuses. So depending on your mission, you may want to change your skill set. I tend to pretty much have chosen the ones I like. I very rarely change, mainly because I forget to, but I find that what I use works. What works for me is a constable, a miracle worker. Here it tells you what these things mean. You can read through them later. Choose for yourself, try them out, see which one works for you. Next one along is traits. Traits is your character's bonus abilities or special skills. Now, if you hold your cursor over your abilities, it tells you what they are. For instance, this one gives me a better kit performance. This one allows me to hit people a bit harder, etc. And on the right here, you get a whole list of these traits or skills. When you start off, you may only have 1 or 2. You may only have 1 or 2 gaps you can put them in, but you will get more as you go through the game. In order to turn a skill or a trait on and off, you simply put a tick in the box or take the tick out of the box. So for instance, creative here is active. If I take the tick out of the box, it goes away, and I can now fill that box with another skill. You can only have a certain amount of skills, so you can't top out. You can't be good at everything, unlike real life, in which I'm sure you are. So hold your mouse over each skill. It'll tell you what it does when you've activated it. If you want to find out if you do want to use it, click on Details, and as you can see, it tells you all about it and gives you your bonus points, if you like. Excuse me. So again, it's up to you, your game's play, as to what you want to use. Do you want top health? Do you want to be really strong? Do you want pistol training? Will actually give you 5% bonus on pistol weapons, etc, etc. So decide, for instance, if you're using rifles, there is no point turning pistol training on because it's a wasted trait. You're going to get nothing for it, and vice versa. If you're using pistols, there is no point turning rifles on. If you use a variety of weapons, turn them both on. But there's a lot of options. The next one you get relates to your ship, and this is to do with stations. Now your stations are, you see them in the show. They are where a bridge officer sits to do their things. Now, for instance, different ships will give you different options. This particular ship allows me to have different, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sets of stations. And for each station, I can put a member of crew onto that station. Now, when you start off, you will have less options here. You will also have less crew members. Now, it's important to put the right crew members in the right stations. It'll tell you if you can use a skill at a station or if you can't. But if you click on the drop-down menu, it shows you all the people who can sit at that station and what their specialist skills are. So for instance, if I chose area, their skill would be firing beams with a bonus, cannons with a bonus, and attack patterns, depending on what it is, depends on the bonuses. Now again, there's no point putting someone with cannons rapid fire on a station, on a ship that only uses beams. It's a wasted skill. So you're going to need to actually look down and say, what is the person who's going to get the most from sitting out of this station? And when we go onto the main screen, I'll show you what that means. But you have like tactical stations and science stations, engineering stations, etc. Some stations on some ships as you move through will be able to be used by anything or anyone. So you'll change your officers until you find a combination that works for you. At the moment, this toon here, this character here, if I click on their name, it shows me what they can do. If I click on the actual station here, on the right hand side it brings up another menu telling me who's sitting there, what their current abilities are, and these match the icons on the left there. You can change these skills. So for instance, if this character can put emergency power to auxiliary, but you'd rather they brought in an engineering team, you just click on it and it swaps it out. So you choose the abilities that that person will use at that station. We're going to come to where the abilities are and how that character can use abilities in a moment. But as we're still talking about Marina, we have a different option to look at in a minute. One thing also to note is your standard away team. Your standard away team, just like your stations, can be changed. Everyone has different skills. Choose the skill that suits you. You may want one that can make turrets, generate a shield generator, or heal you, or whatever. Choose a mixed team. Again, that depends on your away mission, but when you have a standard team, spread it across the board a little bit to what you think will be most useful in most cases. When you actually go to beam down, you'll get a screen that shows your standard away team ready to beam down, but you can actually change people in and out, as I will show you when we get there. The other screen you get at the top of your character screen is reputation. Now, your reputations are very important. You can't do this at first. You have to get to a certain level, and then you'll get options down the left-hand side, which I will show you probably a bit fuller when we get there. And you can choose, you can add a project or two, and eventually what happens is you'll go up from levels 1 through to 6, and each level on the right hand side will allow you to build or create different things, whether it's weapons, shields, items for your ship, whatever. So level 1 will be much less useful items, and as you level up, you'll be able to make more and more equipment. So as soon as you do get to be able to use your reputation system, get stuck into it, because you're going to benefit from the added stuff you can make. Now, if we go back to status and we go down to one of our characters, we'll just go for Area, as they're at the top. Again, tells us about this person, tells us what they are wearing, their shields, their weapons, their devices. But when we click on their skills, they don't have a skill tree. They have abilities that you can choose, and you can choose to learn them. When you first get a bridge officer, that person will have skills that they come with, but you can actually train them to learn more skills, and I will show you how to do that at a later date. It is important to train your crew to get these bonuses, because initially they may only have 1 or 2 things here. Like this person here, Area, can only do 2 things. I haven't taught them anything else because other characters can do other things that they will, there's no point duplicating up on. It's reasonably cheap and easy in terms of in-game currency to train your crew up. Just make sure you do. And you have space, ground abilities. Again, you have the default ones, which you can change so that they will always do these things unless you change them around and tell them to use a different skill. On the right hand side of the top part is a little drop down menu that says filter. Show all shows everything they can learn, as well as everything they can do. If you turn that off, it'll just show you everything they can do. If they can learn a certain thing and you have the appropriate manual, which we will talk about later, that will also show up here with a little box where you can click that says Learn. Again, they can have specializations depending on what they have learned or their career path. Traits, excuse me, for each person is very similar to your own, but they only have a limited amount of options. So again, turn them on and off. The traits come from what you have taught them. If you don't teach them, they won't have any. And again, you can still go to station from here and swap them around, but it's the same screen as Arena. So that is this screen to do with characters. There's also a screen to do with your ship, which is your second option down. If you click on that, back to status, now I see my ship. I can left click in there and spin my ship around if I've got nothing better to do. We'll deal with ship mastery levels later and other traits, but you have things you can click on: stats, loadouts. Now, loadout is basically everything on the right hand side, similar to with a character or crew member. These are things that are equipped. If that is a favorite setup of yours, you can click save and give it a name, and that will save all of this equipment. So if you do a mission where you need to swap out some weapons or equipment, you can then just load your original setting back up. One thing to be aware of: if you delete or sell an item, it can't load back up because you will no longer have it. So just be careful that you don't accidentally remove stuff, and I'll show you how not to do that later. On the right, you have visuals. You can actually change the visual of your ship, change the way the deflectors look, the impulse engine, the shields, by clicking in this box. It'll tell you what you've got. I actually don't have anything to change the deflector. I could change my impulse engines here by just clicking on this icon on the right. It does not change the equipment on the ship, only the look of it. So for instance, some engines will have a blue stream, some a purple stream, all sorts of different stuff, which you can worry about at a later date. Down the bottom, the way your shields look, again, you can change stuff if you've actually got those items, and they have to be available in your inventory. If they're not, you can't use them. Now, here you see on the right hand side, tells you what weapons you've got, deflectors, impulse engines, etc. If you find you're somewhere and you're not actually moving, the chances are your impulse engine fell off, or you went to change it and left that blank. Sometimes it happens when there's a blip in the system and you go in, you're like, where's my engine gone? Quite simply, you can just click on a square and that will show you all the options of things that can go in that spot. So if you want to load a weapon up, I click here, it tells me all the weapons I've got that can be swapped out. It tells you where they are. These are in main inventory, so I can get them swapped out really easily. If they're in storage or equipped on another ship, it tells me here that's what ship it is equipped on. So that's the easiest way to swap out equipment, devices, consoles, pretty much anything. So what you have, if you hold your cursor over, it tells you what the weapon is on weapons, how much damage it does, what sort of weapon it is. For instance, this weapon here is a Polaron beam weapon. This weapon here is a phaser weapon. Now that's quite important when we come to do endeavors, which we will come to a bit later. An endeavor is something you need to do to get some bonus marks. Usually there are daily endeavors. For instance, one of them may say do phaser damage. So you may want to swap out your weapons to phaser weapons to do that damage and then swap them back. As you progress, you will get various deflectors, impulse engines, warp engines, shields. You'll start off at level 1, and eventually, if you keep playing long enough, you'll be able to get level 15, which is the highest level, and Epic, which is the best quality weapon or shield, depending on what you're looking at. For instance, this is an Epic shield. This is only ultra rare, warp engine. Haven't got to Epic on that yet. I'll show you how to upgrade your items a little bit later. We'll just concentrate on menus at the moment. So that is your main menu for looking at your crew, yourself, your ship, and seeing what they're loaded up with, weapons or shields or equipment. Now, the next button down, I'll leave this screen open for a second. The next button down is inventory. Now, initially it opened when we clicked on the top one, but we don't always need to see it, so we closed it down. If you click on inventory now, it brings your inventory up. Your overflow bag, don't worry about it. It's kind of a dumping area when your inventory is full. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. You've got a limited inventory and they allow you to have some more stuff. That gets full as well. We'll ignore that for now. So your inventory shows you all the stuff you're carrying around like any game. When you start off, you're only going to have a certain amount of inventory slots. It could be this many. As you go up, you'll get more slots, or you can buy more slots. Now this comes into pay to play, whereas most of the game you can easily go from level 0 to level 65 without paying a cent, as I'm going to show you in the tutorials. But you may want to get more into the game, buy special items, special ships. That'll cost you a little bit more, but it's up to you. You don't have to, but it will enhance your game's play. Also, a lot of people will say, why should I pay for a game? Well, if you look at this game, there are hundreds of thousands of man hours in this game, and somebody paid those man hours. It wasn't volunteer work, so don't be tight. Put a few bucks in. Any free-to-play game, if you have an opportunity, buy something. That's the only way to support a game. It's the only way that new content is added. Anyway, I'm not your mother, so inventory. If you hold your mouse over something, it tells you what it is. But also, if you have something already on your ship or your person, it will tell you what you have. So, for instance, on this screen, the two left-hand sides are telling me my current weapons. The one on the text on the right-hand side is telling me what this weapon is. And it allows me to look at all the stats and to say, well, do I want this weapon over that weapon? What are the advantages, etc., etc. If you look at just one of the stats, for instance, energy damage, one weapon will fire 752 lots of damage or 605 DPS in a 250 degree arc. The one I'm highlighting in the inventory is only 135 degrees, so the firing arc is a lot smaller. but sometimes you'll notice it'll do a lot more damage. So you have to decide on your style of play, whether you fly around a lot, whether you like to do broadsides, whether you want to fire in all directions, as to which weapon suits you. Generally, the higher targeting arc, the less damage you'll do with one hit, but the more chance you've got of hitting something. So you'll work it out. Also, there's all sorts of things you'll get: batteries, weapons, hangar ships, which you'll get eventually if you choose to have a ship that has a hangar. Definitely worth it, in my opinion. And when you pick up items or you earn items, generally they will be in a box. Now, depending on what you're doing, for instance, the ship, all the ship stuff lights up. I can't add this box onto my ship, so it's grayed out. If I choose a character, all of the character weapons and equipment lights up. This is just showing us what we can use depending on the option we've chosen. You can actually, instead of clicking on, say, an item here to change it, see here I click and I can choose hanger pets. If you prefer, if you're a drag sort of person, you can select an item from your inventory. For instance, these shuttles, hold the left mouse button, drag it across and drop it where you want it to go, and it will swap out that item. Now, you can't put an item in the wrong place. For instance, this only has one hangar bay. I can't take some more fighters and drop them into warp engines because they're not warp engines. It makes sense, they're not devices. So if it's got a red around it, you cannot put it there. Particularly important is on consoles. Engineering spaces need engineering consoles. Science needs science, for instance, unless you get a universal console. Now, a universal console can actually be put anywhere. So again, your consoles give you bonuses and more skills. Again, depends on your game's play, what you wish to do. We will look at some of these in greater depth later on. Now, you can choose to, if you're looking for a certain item, for instance, if my endeavor or daily mission says to use phaser weapons, I could type phaser or even the first few letters and bring up all my phaser weapons to swap them out for other weapons so that I can reach that target quicker. And then I would swap back with my other weapons. My suggestion is, if you move weapons from here, just drag them to the bottom of your inventory so they're easy to find and they're very easy to put back on. Again, you can either drag them or you can right click and choose equip. So you've got three ways of putting things onto your ship. You can drag it, you can click on the box and choose from a menu, drop down menu, or you can right click and choose equip. In order to get rid of your search, there's a little reset button, brings everything back up. Holding your mouse over it tells you what it is, obviously, as with everything else. So that's how to put things onto your character or onto your ship, take them off, swap them out. If it gets messy, you can click on sort down the bottom. Basically, sort will put all your boxes in one place, all your stuff you're going to use to build in one place, all your weapons in one place, neatly ordered so that all your, for instance, anti-proton weapons all come together as well. You can view them by filtering them, for instance, protected and non-protected. If I click these buttons, you'll see some items are highlighted. We'll talk about protected in a second. You can sort by salvage and not salvage. We'll deal with salvage later. Quality, so common, so you go through white, green, blue, light purple, purple, and epic. So if you only want to find high quality weapons, for instance, or items, just turn stuff on and off. If you're looking for weapons or items to dump, turn the good stuff off. And that's an easy way to find out. Binding. Now, binding is something that relates to all your equipment and gear, stuff you pick up. Some stuff you'll be able to trade and sell. Some stuff, if you've got two characters, for instance, an engineering officer and a tactical one on two different types of game, you can have items bound to your account. That means you can give them from one toon to another toon to another toon. If they're bound to your character, only this particular character you're logged into can use that item or sell it. Well, actually, you can't even sell it. It's stuck to your character. You can get rid of it, which we'll look at. But that's it. Only you can use it. And a lot of stuff that you find will only be for your use. Unbound stuff is stuff that you can sell, trade, give it to somebody, do whatever you like with it. So they're basically filters. Now, when you hold your mouse over something, as I said, it tells you what it is. If you right-click, you get some options. And this particular item, you can equip it, which means to put it on your ship or your person. You can salvage it. When you salvage an item, you get a proportion of the components that make that item back into your inventory, so you can use them in your R&D, research and development, to make new items. You can turn protective status to on. Now, this is important. If you've got an item you like, specifically rare or epic, click that button to change the status to on. Because it's very easy when you right click here to click discard or salvage on an item and then go, I really wanted that, and it's too late. You cannot undelete or unsalvage. So anything you really want, turn protection to on. If you decide in the end you don't want it, you can turn it off again. More details basically brings up the screen that tells you what the item is, what it does. It's sometimes a lot easier than using the hover over button. It tells you a value. This is a value when you trade it in. It's not necessarily a sale value. When we get round to dealing with the market and exchange, you will find that stuff valued at 24,000 can easily go for $1 million, depending on what it is and who wants it. But that's just your base value. Also, you can upgrade an item. If you want to upgrade an item, you can change it from being, say, a blue quality to a purple quality if you have the right equipment and funds. So, for instance, on this phaser, if I click upgrade, it tells me what I've got, what it could potentially become. You can click on the upgrades to add an upgrade to something, and an accelerator, which means it upgrades more efficiently. I'm not going to actually do it here. When you start off, you're unlikely to have tech upgrades or accelerators, and we'll deal with that in R&D at a later date. It will also tell you if it's going to cost you anything in dilithium, which again we will deal with. If you want to upgrade, you add in the upgrades you want to put in. You will see that this one will go from a 12 to a 13. So you decide if it's worth spending the money on. Probably at the lower levels, I wouldn't bother at all, because as you go along in the game's play, you're actually going to pick up equipment that you need at a good level as you move on. If you want to be more efficient, obviously you can click on the upgrades. You don't need to at your beginner level. So we're not going to do that. The other thing you've got is re-engineer. Re-engineer is a little bit complicated to understand, but basically if you re-engineer an item, you can choose to change its properties. It can be a little bit random. For instance, you can change what these things do. We'll explain what these things do later on. One's damage, one's hit points, etc., etc. It's a bit random. It will cost you dilithium and salvage. People do it. You will have to decide at a later date if it's something you want to do. I probably wouldn't play around with that till you get much higher up the ranks. Just concentrate on learning the game. Discard an item basically throws it away. So if you discard an item, it will delete it from your inventory, and you will get probably about a third of its value back. So for instance, if I discard this weapon here that's got a value of 20,000, I could get something in the region of 7,000-8,000 credits put into my bank account. Credits we'll deal with in a second. They are your in-game currency. On the whole, you use them to buy things on the exchange or the market, or use them to do other things like train your crew, promote them, things like that. R&D, research and development, that shows you all the crafting materials you have. Very rarely going there. I just collect stuff. It's unlikely to get full. When you're making stuff, like I've got 3,800 of those, probably obviously not making stuff that uses that. In order to create stuff in research and development, you need items to do that with, components, and that's where they're stored. Now your assets, the last tab, is going to be important. At the top, your energy credits, your in-game credits. I have 49 million. Sometimes it can go. You can have up to 2 billion if you have spent money to buy a certain token, which we will come to. Otherwise, you're limited to how much you can have. Now, don't fall foul of that. If you do not upgrade to have up to 2 billion credits, you may find that if you're selling something on the market, you don't get the full value because you can't have that amount of credits. So one of the first things you want to do is to upgrade your account so you get maximum credits. We'll look at that later. Here it's just a guide of your reputation points. You'll pick up points as you go along, depending on if you're doing Romulan missions, Dyson Sphere, Undying, Delta missions. You'll click up some reputation marks, or pick up rather some marks as you go along. Some people like to worry about that. You probably won't. Fleet credits and assets. If you're in a fleet, you will earn fleet credits and fleet marks that can be used to buy special items from your fleet star base. When you first join, you will end up getting hundreds of fleet join invitations. Probably best just to hold off with that and just get yourself so you know what you're doing first. Some fleets will try and get all your credits off you. Some fleets are really good and will help you out. Some fleets will meet up at certain times of the day or week to do certain missions. So you're going to want to choose the fleet that suits you. You probably want to choose a fleet in your part of the world and with people that you like to socialize with. So don't worry about fleets to start off with. There's nothing worse than getting bombarded with fleet requests, but we'll look at turning them off later. Now, dilithium you can't have straight off, but when you start collecting dilithium, for instance, here I've got the ore, I've got 1.8 million. You can't do anything with raw dilithium yourself, so you need to refine it. Now, if you pay for a lifetime subscription, which you may want to, you can refine as much as you like. Otherwise, you're stuck to refining, I think, 6,000 a day. So make sure every day you come in, refine some of it. You'll notice your refined number goes up because you'll use this throughout the game to buy things or to use on your fleet or other such things. So you're going to need to bulk this up. You use it a lot when you're researching and developing and upgrading your equipment. Down the bottom here, there's a Dilithium Store where you can buy stuff for dilithium. You may or may not want to buy any stuff here. You may acquire this stuff somewhere else. But again, it tells you what it is, how much it is, and if you can afford to buy it, it won't be in red, it'll be in grey. Lock boxes here we'll deal with later, but if you get a lock box, you don't need to buy them. You can see they're free. Here you'll pick up hundreds as you go along, but you need keys to open them. We'll talk about that later as well. The Dilithium Exchange is where you can actually sell or buy dilithium. It's probably something that you're going to need to learn if you need to do it or not, because Zen is in-game currency where you can buy much bigger things like starships and stuff. But you can also buy Zen with your credit card. The exchange is a bit hit and miss. It depends who's selling what as to how much you have to spend to get what you want, whether you're selling Zen or buying Zen or selling dilithium. It's not something I worry about too much. Again, we can deal with that at a later date. Down the bottom, gold press platinum. You can win by playing Darbo. It's fun to play. Sometimes your personal endeavour will be to win some money playing Darbo. The gold pressed platinum you can pretty much only use to buy certain items of no value whatsoever, like little trinkets and stuff. It's just a bit of fun, pretty pointless to be honest. Salvage is how much salvage you've got. Now, salvage can be part of an endeavour to collect salvage, or you can use it for crafting. So, going back to this menu, something I missed earlier on, when this is your character status menu. On your crew, down the bottom, you'll have career options. Discharge will basically take them off your ship. You'll never see them again. What you want to do as you go along, remember every time you get promoted to come in and promote your crew to their next level. I can't do that. I think every one of my crew is promoted. when you promote them, they can use better weapons and they're more efficient. So don't leave all your crew at the lowest level, because it's not going to help you at all. So the next menu down is in-game emails. You can actually send people in-game emails by putting in their character name, and their handle. Most people nowadays would use Discord or something like that. I don't think I've ever received a personal email here or sent one. Your inbox is when you get messages from people in the game. If you sell something on the exchange, if you get a mission reward, you may get a message from an admiral or a commander. If you've got a message, this will flash green and you'll know there's something going on. For instance, here on our character status, it's flashing green. That means we have something to do in here. For instance, on this one, you'll come in, you'll see your reputation is flashing, and I can actually collect some rewards from here. So if it's flashing, there's something going on. The help menu flashes all the time. The next screen down is your social menu. Now this will tell you, you may or may not use this. This tells you where you can find a team. If you want to join in a team, you can find a fleet. Now fleets will actually tell you where they are, what they do, sometimes a little bit more about them. Here tells you their time zones. So this is helpful if you're looking for a fleet to join. This is a really helpful screen to be on. For instance, there's Klingon ones, there's all sorts. There's a particular country. This one is German, so if you're only English speaking, possibly not the best fleet for you to join, but there are thousands and thousands of fleets. You can eventually set your own fleet up. We will deal with that shortly. And you've got settings that you can change. For instance, here we're open to joining a team. If somebody invites us, we like to use a need or greed option for getting loot, which we will look at later. But we can change stuff here. You probably certainly won't at the beginning be using this. Friends, you can find out if your friends are online, where they're doing, what they're doing, stuff like that. You have your block list. Most of my block list are people who continually pester you to join a fleet, and eventually you go, I'm going to block you. And search allows you to sorry, can't move that. Look around, who's about, what they're doing. Search for a person, stuff like that. So if you want to know where your mate Pete is, you can type his name in here, and it should actually come up on your friends. But if you're not friends and you're looking for a particular person, you can hunt them down. Don't think I've ever used it. You probably won't either. So that's just social screen, the most unused screen in the game. Next is your options game menu. Now this is quite important here, because the first option is rearrange the HUD. Now your HUD is what you see on your screen. If you click on that, you can drag stuff around, put it over here, up there. You'll eventually find the best place for your menus. You're going to want to leave the middle clear. Not all these things show all the time. It's just where things will pop up. For instance, if you're getting messages about some loot being randomly given to people, it will pop up over here, but you could have it pop up anywhere you like. So yeah, you can put your bridge crews on the right, which I do. Some people have them up here, but then it's taking up real estate space. You can't really see it. You can actually hide items so they do not show on your screen at all. You may not want to see that. You may not want to see any of these things, but pretty much everything I've got, I like to see at some stage, and it's not there all the time. You'll see when I press escape, which saves what we've changed, and go back, you'll see my screen. Most of the stuff is not there at the moment because it's not part of what we're doing. Also in options, you've got all your options for changing your controls, audio, voice chat, display, graphics, all sorts of things. This depends on you and your computer, and you will automatically be given a set of options in here, if you like, that you can change, but the computer or the game generally will put on what's best for you. So lots of options. You can change what you want to see, what you don't want to see. Personal games play is down to you. The help gives you some help on how to do stuff if you're stuck. If you want to report a player because they're being a less than nice, polite member of society, you can access the library computer, for instance, which you can find out how to do stuff. All of this I'm going to deal with anyway, but there's lots and lots and lots of things in here that you can do. If there's something wrong with your account, you can send a support ticket in. Stuff. Just stuff. Here there's a drop down. The next one down, bottom right hand corner, is a drop down menu. This allows you into some things we've already looked at. The Dilithium Exchange. PvP is player v player. If you like combat against other people and you like to die a lot, that's probably a good option to choose as a new player, or probably not, because you'll only get depressed. And there are other options here. One of them is to visit your bridge, which we will again look at later, and other things you can do here. Next one along to the left is your fleet. If you're in a fleet, which you won't be as a newbie, with a bit of luck, you will find information on your fleet. You can do things within that fleet. For instance, if you want, you can contribute to the fleet, which is what they want you to do. You can look at different things they're doing to contribute in different areas. You're probably going to want to make sure you've got yourself set up first. For instance, here, research. If you've got some spare officers, I'll contribute some. You can select certain officers or all of them, and you will get fleet credits for that. Fleet credits can be spent in the fleet, Starbase, to buy special fleet equipment, which quite often can be better than normal equipment. Again, it's up to you to make a judgment call on that. You can put dilithium in or anything you want. One thing to be aware of is if it's asking for certain types of officers, if you don't have them to spare because you're using them for other missions that we haven't dealt with yet, you probably don't want to hand all your officers over. That'll be down to you in your game's play. Various other things in here you can look at to do with the fleet. News, what's going on, if they're going to hold an event, like we're all going to meet on Wednesday at 3 o'clock to do a certain mission, who's online at the moment in your fleet. and various other bits of information. You've got some options you can turn on and off. Something to explore. We'll deal with fleets later. Now this next screen with the 3 flashing people icon, this is an important screen. Probably the second most important screen. By clicking on here, when you're at certain levels, you'll be able to do certain things. For instance, when you have a crew that you can send on missions, you can come into here. You can, this one is an overview of what they're doing. I've had 20 people complete missions. So I'm just going to clear that so I can show you how to send people on a mission. Down here you've got maintenance, which means you need to do some maintenance on your ship. And these are your diplomatic ranks, which you will get points as you go along and you do various duty officer missions. So if you're going to say you want to get the highest rank possible as a diplomat, send your away team to do diplomatic missions or science missions or whatever. So for instance, I'm quite high up on most of these. So I may say I need to rank up on exploration, so I'm going to send people exploring. But again, up to you what you do there. You can also see your levels on R&D, which we will deal with in a moment, and campaigns, which we will also deal with. They come under Admiralty. So so I'll clean out these. When you've done missions and they're completed, you can collect all the rewards or find out if you failed a mission. I'll just click through these quickly until I show you how to send teams on missions. It would be meaningless for you. So, right, if you want to find a mission for your away teams, you can either do it here, find assignments, or you can go to duty officers. It'll bring you here anyway. One of the things to do is to go to filters, because when you see a little red pointer or icon, that means you cannot do this mission. You do not have the equipment or personnel available. So if you go to filter and choose only with met requirements, it will show you the missions you can do. Generally, they start at the top with ones which are more achievable. The ones at the bottom can be less achievable, but we'll see as we go along. You can, as I say, if we are looking to do more, let's say science, I want to upgrade my science, I will send my away teams to do a science mission that's at the top. Could be exploration, trade missions. You can also go into department heads, and I can choose science or engineering or tactical or whatever from here. So to send somebody on a science mission, I will click on the science officers assignments. And these are all the ones available at the moment. They change every now and again. So to send someone on a mission, you can basically look under the results. This is what you're going to get from your mission. So here's some XP points, experience, science XP to move my science score along, etc., etc. Under requirements, this tells me I need 1 scientist here, 2 here, or 2 here, 3 here. Obviously, you can only send the amount you've got. So if you have only 3 science officers and you send all 3 on one mission, you won't be able to send them on other missions. These ones will all be grayed out. Chances are that you'll have more than 3. Down here, this mission, for instance, needs 3 science officers and a photonic specialist, which we happen to have. And this will come down to what crew you have, what officers you have on board, who's on your roster, your personnel. So to send them on a mission, we can click on Plan. Plan will tell us briefly what the mission is. You might read these when you start. They're quite good. Eventually you'll just be clicking buttons. These bars here tell you the chances of the outcome. You've got an 18% chance of a critical success, 89% chance of actually completing the mission, or 69, sorry, my glasses. You've got a 12% chance of failing the mission, but it won't be a disaster. So you weigh up, is it worth sending someone on a mission with a 12% chance of failing? That's up to you. You can change the officer going on it by clicking this button. That's the only one available for this mission. You may end up with a list of people. If you do, you can click on the officer and click Assign. And to begin the assignment, you click Begin. It tells you it's going to take 1 hour. These can be anything from 10 minutes to days. So we click that button, off he goes. If we now go into Overview, it tells us there's one mission in progress, and we can view it, and we know this guy is off on his mission. We can abort the mission if we want to, but we don't at this stage. So we're going to go back, choose another mission. Again, just because somebody is unscrupulous doesn't mean then that's a bad thing. In this mission, it does indicate we could have a disaster, but in some missions like gambling and stuff, that may actually be a good thing. Again, we can swap the men around, so we can swap him out, put another person in there. The disaster goes down to 1 from 4. Initially, it will select people for you. But yeah, you can change them around. Again, your quality of person, you've got greens, you've got purples, you've got deep purples, and each person will, their strengths will determine what they're good at. So you can juggle around with these. For instance, I might change that person out for this person. Changes the stats at the top marginally. Here we've got a 25% chance of failure. I probably wouldn't want to go there. So I'm actually going to skip this mission by going back. It's not going to suit me. Anyway, that's how you choose a mission. You can go into department heads, choose missions from different departments. You can choose missions that are on the current map, which is where you are at the moment. Tells you what the mission is. Again, your rewards, send on their way. Personal missions are sending things to people to learn things. Learn traits, learn piloting, all sorts of stuff. So pretty much you can just click on people and send them on missions. If it all looks good, you can just go for it, or you can swap the officers around. You can only do a maximum of 20 missions at one time. Sometimes you will get 21 in because some missions don't count as away missions. Normally in medical, so you might get a bonus one, or sometimes 2. There are other options here, assignment logs and assignment chains, which we can talk about later, but chains, if you do a certain amount of missions, like 3 missions of a similar sort, you'll get bonus points. Next one along is Admiralty. Admiralty. That's a hard word, isn't it? Can you say Admiralty? No. Anyway, in here we can find, when you eventually get some ships, you'll get a ship roster. these are all the ships you can use. You'll start off with one or two and eventually end up with loads. Some ships stay with you all the time. Some ships are single use. You can choose whether to send them on Federation assignments, Klingon, Romulan, Ferengi. Along the top here, it tells you what your rewards are for tour of duties, which are special missions. Otherwise, you're basically going to look for the results. You're going to gain some items, some points. Personally, on this level, I cannot go any higher, but when you start off, it's really, really cool thing to do. All my ships actually look like they are busy, so if I click in progress, like with the away teams you had completed, here it says in progress. Some are completed, probably all of these. So if you view the details of the mission, it tells you how the mission went, what you did, what you won, what you used, what ships you sent on it, and you can collect the reward. Now, tour of duty rewards, for instance, Romulan here, I've got 2 of 10. If I collect that reward, it will be 3. When I get all 10, I will get 4 universal upgrades, which are to be used for upgrading equipment. So anyway, collect your rewards. If you fail the mission, it'll just say acknowledge report. You can read them. To send a ship on a mission, at the moment I'm doing Romulans because I want tech upgrades. So each mission is listed here. It'll tell you what you're going to earn when you do the mission. It tells you what you require in the way of tactical abilities, engineering abilities, science abilities of your ship. Now I'm going to pause the video here or stop it so that we have a little break, but it's not too long, and we will resume with the ship missions in the next video.